While most people have heard the Slim Shady lyric about Dr. Dre being dead in Eminem's basement, we doubt they know how the two first came to work together. If you happen to be one of these people, you've come to the right place, because in today's video, we're going to explain how Dre became the co-founder of Eminem's The Slim Shady LP. To boot, we're also diving into their history and manifold collaborations. First things first, a brief history lesson. Unless you're a part of the Stan base, you might not know that the Detroit-based rapper first appeared on the hip-hop scene in 1996. Unfortunately, his debut album, Infinity, didn't make waves. It did, however, make him unsure of his prospects. This failure, coupled with several personal tragedies, like his then-girlfriend walking out on him with their daughter Haley, sent Marshall into a dangerous spiral. With nowhere left to turn, he turned to writing music again. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of how we got the 1997 EP, the Slim Shady EP. This album, as some of you hardcore fans might have noticed, differs from Infinity in several ways. For one, it raps about poverty and violence in more inventive ways. Anywho, after its release, Mathers gathered up whatever little money he had and flew to LA to participate in the Rap Olympics. For those of you who are unaware, it was an annual nationwide competition that searched for the greatest new MC. Another interesting fact is that the M placed second in the said competition. Not just that, it was here that he caught the attention of an Interscope Records employee. This employee sent a copy of the Slim Shady EP to Interscope CEO Jimmy Iovine. Moving on, how Dr. Dre came into the picture. Picking up where we left off, Dre was first introduced to Mathers when Iovine played his album for him while the young rapper was still in LA. In case you're curious, the two knew each other because Dr. Dre had founded his own imprint, Aftermath Entertainment, through Interscope. But that's beside the point. The point is that Dre immediately decided that he had to work with M. While speaking to Rolling Stone, he explained how, unlike other demo tapes and CDs, something about Marshall's work made him want to get a hold of him as quickly as possible. And the rest, as they say, is history. As for Marshall's reaction to the whole thing, from what we know as a longtime fan of the N.W.A, he was starstruck to be working with Dr. Dre. In fact, there was so much ease between the duo from the get-go that they were able to record Eminem's breakout hit, My Name Is, in an hour. And get this, 3 other songs, including the single Role Model, were also recorded the same day. Coming up, how their partnership developed. Since their first few collaborations, the two have turned into frequent collaborators. As a matter of fact, Dre has been an executive producer on every one of Eminem's albums since then. This includes everything from his Grammy-winning The Slim Shady LP and the Marshall Mathers LP to Eminem's most recent album, that is 2020's Music to Be Murdered By. Come to think of it, they teamed up in February of this year as well. Sadly, it was only on stage. In case you're confused, we're referring to the 2022 Super Bowl halftime show, where the two icons were joined by Snoop Dogg, Mary J. Blige, and Kendrick Lamar for an unforgettable homage to hip-hop. Let's also talk about some more Eminem songs and albums that Dre contributed to. We've already told you how Dre produced 3 songs on Mathers' official studio debut, the Slim Shady LP, and, of course, he was the executive producer for the entire project as well. But did you, by any chance, know that the duo's hot streak also continued on Dr. Dre's legendary album, 2001? If we're not wrong, then they linked up for 2 tracks, well, 3 if you count background vocals on The Watcher, for the said album. And guess what? Forgot about Dr. Dre, and what's the difference? Both ended up as some of the album's most memorable singles. As for their musical peak, many would agree that it came on M's sophomore album, the 2000s, the Marshall Mathers LP. If memory serves, Dre not only perfected the sound that he conceived for My Name Is, but also hooked Marshall up with a batch of carnivalesque, off-kilter bangers. Before you ask, no, that wasn't all. He also laced 6 of the album's 19 songs together with producer Mel Mann. And get this, many of these songs became highlights. One more interesting thing about this duo's relationship is that Dre was also involved with M's group D12. If we remember correctly, he produced 2 songs for its Devil's Night debut. Moving on, and coming to Eminem's most personal album yet, The Eminem Show, he produced 2 songs for it. As for Encore, Marshall's 4th studio album, 8 out of the 20 records on it were Dre's courtesy. Up next, why Eminem's career took a nosedive after Encore. Not many people know that Marshall disappeared from the game as a solo artist after Encore because of how it marked a dark period in his life. Say what you will, but his many tried and failed endeavors in those years like Bobby Creekwater, Cassius, and Stat Quo, for instance, were all for Shady Records. His own musical output, admit it or not, had slowed to a grinding halt. In later years, it was revealed that this was mainly due to Mather's problem with addiction. They had sadly gotten so bad that he nearly lost his life. But then, after a stint in Brighton Rehab Center and sobering up, he was back in the studio with Dre in 2009. This, as many of you might know, was when they came out with Relapse. Yes, we know, the album wasn't to everyone's liking, but when it came to Dre's production, fans agreed that it was on point. One more thing to note is that the Good Doctor and his team handled 18 out of 20 of the album's tracks. As a result, Relapse looked to be, at least on paper, Dre and M's most collaborative project yet. Let's also look into if their bonds come to an end. While in recent years, fans started to feel like the mentor-apprentice duo had distanced themselves from each other, that was certainly not the case. Agreed, Dre's influence on Recovery was quite unnoticeable. He only came through for, if we're not wrong, So Bad and the Redaz bonus track. When it comes to Marshall Mathers' LP2, we also know that Dre contributed no production, despite having been the album's executive producer. But these things are by no means an indication that their creative run has come to an end. If it had, M wouldn't have appeared on Netflix's The Defiant Ones. The Super Bowl performance that we mentioned earlier is also reflective of the fact that the chemistry that they've forged as brothers, muses, and friends has only solidified. Now that we've given you the complete picture on this iconic pairings relationship throughout the years, let's take a look at a few more of Eminem's collabs that might interest you. What's more, some of Slim Shady's best collaborations. Get ready to furiously update your playlists because we've got way too many picks for this. And for anyone who's already got these songs on their playlist, well, hats off to you for an amazing music taste. That being said, our first pick is Renegade with Jay-Z. The song has been described as one of the best collabs to come out of the industry, and why wouldn't it be? Especially considering the top-tier verses, both thematically and technically, that the two legendary MCs delivered. As for its hauntingly uncharacteristic beat, don't even get us started on it. And guess what? Originally, the song was supposed to be a Bad Meets Evil track. So if you're a bigger fan of Royce's, you can check that version out instead. Yes, rest assured, it's out there. Another one of M's collabs that we can't seem to get enough of is his 2001 Grammy Awards performance of Stan alongside Elton John. Don't get us wrong, we love Dito's version as well, but it wasn't the one that reached #1 in the UK. One more song we think you should check out is called Walk on Water. In case it has been a while since you last brushed up on your Marshall Mathers trivia, let's remind you that the song was released in 2017 after a musical hiatus and featured none other than Queen Bee. That's Beyoncé and not Britney Spears. Anywho, this song was the lead single from Eminem's 9th studio album, Revival, and landed in the top 10 in the UK and in the US both. Finally, we've got two of his songs with Ree, which we all know were huge successes. Last but not least, people who've refused to work with Eminem or vice versa. If there are two groups that are always at each other's throats, it's hip-hop fans and rock enthusiasts. Despite that, multiple artists have collaborated over the years to bring out some successful collaborations. Eminem, as far as we know, likes to incorporate genres like rock and metal into his music. If sources are anything to go by, then it's because he was equally influenced by rap rock acts like Hendrix and Zeppelin. Artists from these genres are also mostly willing to collaborate with him. Like, of course, it's a given considering he's the rap god. But that's not always the case, and Jethro Tull's Tony Lamy as an example. When he was working on his solo album, the metal icon invited numerous guest vocalists to work with him, except Eminem, who, just by the way, approached him with an offer. Now, before you guys think badly of the guy, let's clarify something. Since he's so old, Lamy didn't know who Eminem was. So, yeah, no hard feelings. Now, coming to the people who we don't think he's going to feature on his songs anytime soon or ever, we've got Machine Gun Kelly. For those of you who didn't know, up until 2020, the two were involved in a beef. From what we've gathered, it started in 2012 when MGK called M's daughter hot, thereby earning not only a ban from the rapper's radio station, but also a few diss tracks about him and his ex-girlfriend, Halsey. That's a wrap for this video. What's your favorite Eminem album? How do you think Marshall would have fared without Dre's mentorship? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.